Well, hi, everybody. My name's Nicole Pierce. I am here again for Career Conversations with Nicole. I'm super excited today. I have an awesome guest with me. His name is Jeff Wright. He is the managing partner of Draffin and Tucker. Jeff, thanks for joining me.
Thank you, Nicole.
Before we get started today, I'd love for you to just tell all the students about Draffin and Tucker. Just give them a short little glimpse of who you are.
Sure. So we are a full service accounting firm and have been recruiting at Kennesaw State for a number of years. We have approximately 80 people in our firm, approximately 14 million in revenues. We're headquartered in Albany, Georgia. Do have an office in Atlanta in the Sandy Springs area. Approximately 75% of our practice is providing services to the healthcare industry, which has certainly created for some interesting times in the last few months. But much like a lot of CPA firms, our success is around our people, and we're just continually looking for quality people to join our team.
That's awesome. Well, and it's exciting that you are helping the healthcare field as they have been helping us over the past couple months. So that's so great. Well, today's topic, I think, is going to be a good one. We've covered it once before in a previous conversation, but I think this time we're going to talk about a little bit different things. So how to navigate a remote internship to really use that internship to move your career forward, and not thinking of a remote internship as something extremely different. You could really leverage this remote internship for your career. And so I think the topic is going to be good for the students. The basic one always is how to prepare for a remote internship. And why don't you give us some feedback on that?
Sure. Well, Nicole, I think it's a great topic that you're talking about. And certainly, a lot of mechanics have changed in the recent months, in the last 90 days. As we look at what makes an individual successful at Draffin and Tucker, a lot of those things haven't changed, whether we're remote or whether we're in person. So many of them are still the same, a little bit different mechanics. Just as we're talking this morning, you and I have sat down many times in person or sat in front of panel discussions at KSU, but still the same.
Yeah, no, our conversation's still flowing just the same.
Absolutely.
And I like how you also discussed that really the remote internship isn't anything crazy different. There is nothing significant change from the experience. It's just the mechanics of it are going to change a little bit. So that I think is helpful for students to hear.
Sure.
So how to get yourself out of a problem, if you have one, in a remote internship? Because I can see the students on my side of the fence. I can see them having an issue at home or wherever they're doing their remote work, and they don't know what to do. So what would they do?
Well, I would suggest step one is to avoid a problem to start with, to the extent that you can. We have all found ourselves in problems. Despite the best of efforts, the best of intention, and the best of planning. So, but there are ways to deal with that. Before I get to that, if I could just back up a little bit about what may seem to avoid some of those. Again, I'm going to go back to my earlier comments, some of the same things that have always tended to avoid problems. And one of those is what I would describe as engagement. Just come to the table, be engaged, be ready to learn. Be ready to use the tools that are available to you. We believe, when I talk about a career, we believe that everybody that joins our firm has the opportunity to be successful, and we believe we have the infrastructure for that. Talking about preparing for a remote internship, that's a mindset. How am I going to do that? I'm going to be engaged. I'm going to ask questions. I'm going to communicate. I'm going to learn how to use the technology. One of the interesting things here is lots of different platforms of technology. Probably in the last 90 days, all of us have been on a Zoom call, been on a Skype call, been on a Microsoft Teams call. Get on there, use those, practice with them. Practice with them when they're not. It's not an actual meeting. Even despite the best of preparation, technology sometimes can go wrong. Great example. Just be open, be honest about what is occurring. If there are resources that you need that you do not have, it may be that we have not thought about those. This environment is new to all of us. One of the things I would encourage is to keep your day structured as best you can, and that you're communicating with your team members. My day starts at 8 o'clock and it runs till 5 or 5:30, whatever the case is. I'm going to take a lunch here.
I think that is so helpful, because even for me, when I started this remote work, it was hard. I had to reteach myself on what that structure was going to be. And so it may take some practice, like maybe the first structure you set isn't going to work. But I also think over time, you and your team will figure out, kind of like we normally, I mean, at least for me and my team, we normally talk on Mondays at 11, right? Like my team just kind of knows that there's no set meeting, but we have just established this flow of communication to where it works for everybody. So maybe the students can come up with that too, to where they just kind of get into a rhythm where they collect all their questions that they may have, and then during that time, get them all answered.
Simply ask the in charge that you're working with. When should I contact you? How often should I contact you? Should I get all my questions together, or should I call when I have one? How do I know when I have a question and when I need to reach out?
You really led into one of my other questions was, do you see full-time work turning into this remote, that you have the capabilities? But also, just how should the students start to mentally prepare for whatever that's going to look like? Because they need to start thinking long term that it may not just be a remote internship that they're having to work in this environment towards. They may have to do it when they become full-time employees too. So what are your thoughts on that?
Really good question. And, it's nearly every day I have an article come across my desk, come across my email now, on, what does the future look like? And are we more remote? Are we completely remote? Or when is this over? And what is normal? And, new normal, that phrase took on this whole new meaning, whatever that is. But, I suspect it's going to be some period of time before we return to what I will call February 2020 normal.
Yes.
We're probably going to be in some modified environment for some period of time. What that looks like months from now, a couple of years from now, I wish I knew. And
none of us do. None of us do.
Every article, every day. I do believe we probably will be more virtual and more remote than we would have been otherwise. But we have to also keep in mind that the clients have been through this environment as well. So their expectations, their behaviors, how they interact with us, all of that has changed as well. And, as clients indeed become more comfortable, putting their information on a portal or whatever that case is, I've seen some articles that said, this just accelerated wherever we were 10 years. It's now the year 2030.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's such great advice. Yes, I think the answer is none of us truly know, but I think students should start to, and that was kind of the preface for the question, is they just need to start wrapping their head around that we're probably not going back to February 2020 in the near future, and just trying to look forward at what it could be and get the benefits out of that.
Absolutely.
So my last question, but of course I'm going to welcome any other advice that you could give, but is just how can they connect with interns and professionals during this remote environment? Because like you said, you used to pass people in the hallway and at least make that connection. And so how can they do that?
Well, when we start with an orientation. Mm-hmm. And so all of our interns and our full-time people that are starting on the same day, they go through that orientation. It's virtual. We do have some team building exercises in those. Obviously, those look a little different than they had. But in our situation, the first 3 days of their internship is spent in a orientation. And, we're doing that obviously in a virtual platform. They can see everybody. They're interacting. Would have been in person formerly, but now remote, and they're still together. So I encourage them to just keep those connections that they establish they're going.
Yeah.
Our orientation, they probably see 12 to 15 different presenters over the course of 3 days. All of those contacts that they make, just continue to, I'm going to say nurture those. Continue to keep those going. Continue to reach out. which is really what we'd be doing if we were in the office. And different firms are going to do different things. Of course, virtual happy hours became a thing about 90 days ago. Whatever it is, whatever the activity that's going on, I encourage folks to participate in that. Might be a little intimidating, might be a little, what am I going to say? Who am I going to talk to? We all wonder that. We all don't know what we're going to say. We all don't know who we're going to talk to. Just jump on there. And
I like your point about trying to engage in the opportunities that are offered. I just think it's important for students to hear, whether it be intimidating or feel strange because you're not in person, but they need to think of those opportunities just like they would have if they were invited in person, right? So it's the same, it's just as meaningful. And I think that if they choose not to participate in those, that would show a little bit of disinterest in some piece, right? So I just want them to hear, like, if a firm is engaging with you or trying to engage in some other platform other than just work, whether it be networking or games. I've heard some people did nighttime games or whatever. If they're doing that, they're putting the intentional effort to try to make the connection, and we don't want our students to miss out.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, so any other last advice, anything else you want to throw at them before we close out for today?
Well, one of the things that I see, I believe, as a differentiator in an individual's success, and it particularly happens their entire career, but particularly earlier in their career, is communication. And, that just comes in the form of asking questions. That comes in the form of participating in those different activities. It just comes in the form of engaging. Just step out there, engage, and I promise you'll find it will be okay. And it's a safe
and
place.
What's funny is we have lots of students that are shy or more introverted. And so some of this, like having to step out of that comfort zone, may be difficult for them. But I hope they hear us loud and clear. Communication, step out of the comfort zone and just be engaged.
Are you saying some accountants are shy?
I mean, yes. Sadly, yes.
I haven't heard that before.
I know. So awesome. Well, I appreciate your time with me today. I appreciate our friendship and our relationship that we've built over the past few years. So thanks for being with me. And until next time.
Thank you as well, Nicole. And I think it's great what you're doing, adapting and providing information to students on the abilities to be successful in our careers.
I appreciate it. I think they're getting a lot out of it. And so we'll just see. We'll keep it going.
Awesome. Have a great day.
You too.